If something tickles your fancy about balancing on your hands, a really good starting place is crow pose. So before you can just pop into crow pose, or technically crane pose, you want to warm up the body, especially your wrists. So we are not used to weight bearing on our hands unless you do a lot of vinyasa classes. So let's get the wrists warmed up and ready for this so they can be prepared for strengthening. So let's first come to hands and knees. You're going to spread your fingers wide, not entirely wide so that you're completely extending the fingers, but a good spread, okay? Active, not mitten hands. So you've got the fingers spread wide, hands are organized under the shoulders, knees are organized under each hip socket, and we're going to first just play around with the shoulder blades. So here, keep the spine long and neutral. On an inhale, you're going to let the shoulder blades squeeze together. You're going to kind of feel like you're sinking down. On an exhale, you're going to press into the hands and let the shoulder blades come apart. It might be a really nice shoulder stretch. Inhale, let the chest come down. Arms are still straight. It's just a motion happening in the shoulder blades and from the shoulder socket. Exhale, press into the hands and let the shoulder blades separate. Feeling a nice stretch. One more time. Inhale, come down with the chest. And exhale, lift up and out. So this lifting up and out is where you want to be when you are finding yourself in an arm balance. Now let's kind of get the core and spine warmed up. So keeping the hands where they're at, notice how your wrists feel already. On your inhale, let the belly drop down, tailbone lifts, squeeze the shoulder blades back, and lift the chin. This is cow pose. It's a really nice opening pose. On your exhale, here's what's really important for practicing your arm balance. Exhale, tuck the tailbone under and feel this wave rippling up through the spine, then the chin tucks, press the hands into the earth, feeling those shoulder blades separate. Here, breathe and feel your belly button pulling in. Be active in the belly. This tightening and lifting is what you want in an arm balance. Inhale, release, let the tailbone lift, belly drops, shoulder blades squeeze and chin lifts up. Here's cow. Exhale, begin with the tailbone, tuck it under, pull the belly button up, separate the shoulder blades, tuck the chin. Let's find a couple of breaths here. So really this action of squeezing and lifting, super important. Release. And now let's come back to the wrists. So if you flip your palms so that your fingers point toward the knees, don't push a whole bunch of weight here. You're just going to flip the palms over and shift the hips back as you press the hands gently into the ground. It's going to stretch the fronts of your wrists. So just kind of limbering up the connective tissue in the wrists. Maybe you're shifting side to side. Again, not a whole lot of weight here. Now maybe let the fingers turn toward each other. Maybe you're walking the hands out a little bit, shifting the hips back a little more. It's less of a stretch at the front of the hands and forearms. Now let's turn the fingers, if this is possible for you, turn the fingers toward the knees again, but this time palms are down. We're stretching the back sides of the forearms where they connect to the palm. You can do this for as long as you want. You don't want to overstretch the connective tissue there because we don't want to permanently stretch ligaments too far. Probably not going to get there. You have to hold it for a long time, pretty consistently. But we're just kind of finding some movement with the wrists. Maybe rolling the wrists around as you come up, finding some movement. Now, the next step is to kind of learn how to engage your hands properly so that you can make an arm balance not super detrimental for your wrist joint. So if you think about those hands being spread, a friend of mine taught me this, Melinda, thank you very much. It's very likely that your thumbs are not going to be planted with the finger pad totally on the floor. They're probably going to roll out, so the outside is pressing in. As you have your hands spread into the mat, you want to think about rolling the thumb pad flat to the mat and rolling the pinky pad flat to the mat as you squeeze. So the fingers are not actually going to really move much, but you're imagining squeezing the hands into the mat. Finger pads, the joints where the fingers meet the palm, think about that, almost like you're creating a suction, like a little frog, like a cute little tree frog, okay? So let's come to the hands and knees again, and let's just practice that. It's a super small micro movement, but it's imperative that you have some strength happening in the tissue around your wrists, and you're not just dumping weight. So fingers are spread, not entirely wide as they can go, but spread. And now look at your thumbs. Aren't they rolled to the outside, right? Isn't that crazy? So engage the muscles in your thumbs, where the thumbs connect to your palm, and just imagine rolling the thumb pad down so that you can see your whole thumbnail. And then same thing with the pinkies. Make sure they're pressed firmly, all fingers then pressed firmly, squeezing fingers down into the mat and toward each other without moving them on the mat. And now pressing into the hands, separate the shoulder blades. Remember we did that in the beginning. Shoulder blades separate. Here is a nice lock for you for some strength in an arm balance. Okay? All right. You're probably like, oh, my wrists and my forearms are like sore, right? Crazy. From here, the next step into preparing for crow is to really open up the hips. So bring your left foot forward and your right leg back. I'm just gonna find some simple runner's lunges. We call them lizards in yoga. Hands can be down. You can be on your forearms here. You might be on some books because, dang, this is a good stretch for your hips. Squeezing the back, glute and hamstring to open the front of the hip. And now let's step back to plank and switch. Right foot comes forward. Again, squeezing the glute on the back leg, releasing through the hips. Couple of deep breaths here. And now, step the left foot forward this time, and let your feet be as wide as the mat. I'm going to turn towards you here. We're going to sit into malasana, or a yogi squat, as we sometimes call it. You're letting your hips sit as low as they can go. Now, if getting this low is not happening and you are up here, fine. You be up here. That's where you are. Why would you be anywhere else? You can also grab a block or a pillow or something to set under the hips to keep you from falling down, or to kind of keep this more of a hip opening and not so much of a thigh workout. So once you get here, your toes are turned out, knees follow the toes, my knees keep popping, and bring your elbows to the insides of your knees. So if you are at a level where you cannot get your elbows to your knees, even if you're leaning over and rounding through the spine, if you just can't do that, you're gonna just be working on opening the hips. To get into crow, you have got to have connection between triceps above the elbow and either knees or thighs. So wherever you're working, maybe this is where you stay, palms together toward the heart, lifting up through the heart, squeezing the back body, legs, the glutes to open the knees up. Breathing nice and deep. Just a few breaths here. This prepares the hips to be opened, and then now what I want you to do is elbows are connected to knees, squeeze back. Knees squeeze in toward the elbows. Do you notice that when you do that, it kind of lifted you up a little bit? That's an energetic movement that you need when you are working on an arm balance. So squeezing elbows and knees, lifting up, release. One more time, squeeze elbows to knees, and release. So let's try working into crow. And again, you may be at the point where you're just opening your hips. Maybe you're sitting in this Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose, and you're just leaning forward, feeling some hip opening happening. Great, be there. If you're ready to move on to the next step, you're gonna find your malasana. I'm gonna face you again. You're gonna want to be on your mat for this. It helps with traction. And you're gonna plant your hands in front of you. So just try that. Hands to heart. Plant the hands in front of you. They are shoulder distance apart. That's really important, not to be way out here. Shoulder distance apart, and try coming up on your toes. Just kind of feeling that rocking motion. Hands plant, bend the elbows a little bit, and just lean forward. Remember to grip with your hands. Tree frogs, tree frogs. Grip into the hands, just leaning forward, just giving the hands an opportunity to go, oh, this is what it feels like to have weight on me. Cool. Leaning forward again. You might stay there, getting that, just used to that motion. If you're ready for the next step, bring your feet closer together. So now you're like, woohoo, happy little tree frog. Truly, this is right. Aren't there pictures of tree frogs sitting like this? Elbows are still connected to your thighs. Plant the hands in front of you and again, rock forward. Gripping the hands into the mat, really pressing strength through the hands. Now, the next step is to come up on the toes enough, bend your elbows enough so that your thighs are squeezing above the elbow. Because what we're doing here is creating a shelf. When you bend the elbow, your tricep is going to be your shelf, okay? So from the side, you've got your feet close together. You've got hands planting down in front of the shoulders. They're relatively close to you. If they're really far, you're going to have to really lean forward. The closer they are to you, the tighter your balance will have to be, but the more accessible this will probably feel. So fingers spread wide, active through the hands. You're going to start to bend the elbows a little bit. They're bending straight back, coming up on the toes. And now remember that squeezing that we did in that deep squat? Squeeze. You're not even off the toes yet, but you're squeezing. Elbows are bending, you're squeezing, 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 squeezing knees into triceps. Maybe you bend a knee one at a time. Notice knees are above the elbows. Bend a knee and set it down. Try the other one. Okay, remember that cat pose when we rounded the tailbone and lifted up? Try that now. Rounding and lifting, elbows are bending. Maybe you're squeezing and you lift both feet and you're flying into this version of crow. Maybe it's still toe taps down. Either way, you're squeezing, 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 lifting, lifting up, belly toward the spine, gazes down and forward. And when you're ready, come down. There you go. So imagine your elbows as the thigh master. Was that the 90s? Whenever it was, your elbows are the new thigh master. You might even have some soreness here from the pressure. That's all right. You're going to get some strong inner thighs. You're going to get some flight. Your core is going to be very tight and strong. Well, stronger, tighter. I'll claim that much. If that is seeming like, okay, I've got that. I have both feet off the ground. I'm ready for the next step. The next step is to kind of come down with feet parallel rather than really opening the knees, because the next step is to start placing knees on the triceps rather than outside. So instead of squeezing, the knees are just balancing pressure into the triceps. So again, you're going to bend the knees a little bit, plant the hands in front of you, and you're going to start to bring the knees right onto the triceps. Bending the triceps, same idea. Maybe you're starting to rock back and forth, squeezing the palms into the mat, pulling up with the belly button, and maybe you just try one at a time. Still breathing nice and deep, feeling the hands pressing in. Maybe when you're ready, you bring both feet up. You're still pressing up and imagining squeezing yourself into this teeny tiny little ball of awesomeness as you're flying here in the crow. When you're ready, come back down. That is a really awesome and challenging place to be. The next step is something that I'm actually still working on, which is to fully straighten the arms and also to get the knees all the way up to your armpits. So you really have to be able to duck down, and it requires a lot more lift by pulling belly button in and feeling the hips lift up. So I'll just try it, because when I fall, you guys can see me fall. Isn't that fun to see your yoga teacher fall? It's the best. So same idea for that placement of the hands. Knees come up into the armpits, or as close as they can, and maybe you begin playing, and when you're ready, both come up. Ah! Ooh. That's about as straight as I can get right now, folks. When you've had enough of pro and your wrists are talking and you're like, I am never doing this again, my wrists hurt. Remember, it is a process. Your wrists are not used to bearing the weight of your body. So don't overdo it the first time. However, know that it's going to take some time. And it's going to require you giving attention to the strength in the connective tissue, and also time to release it back out. So before I close this little instructional video, something I really love to do to stretch my wrists, I stand, reach behind you, and clasp the hands together, and then begin to squeeze the shoulder blades back. Extend the arms straight. So From here, normally we say keep the palms together. However, I really like to let the palms release, but I squeeze the fingers together. You can stay here, or maybe you come down and fold forward, bringing the chest toward the thighs. This is a nice way to just stretch the top side of your wrists. And gently release. Come back down to your hands and knees if that's okay for your knees. You can kind of come back to those stretches that we did in the beginning with the palms facing up, which you kind of just did if you did the forward fold with me. Or also if you want to get the underside of the wrists. Fingers will point toward you, palms facing down. Again, not much pressure in the hands. You're gently just pressing the wrists forward and pulling the shoulders back so you stretch along the wrist joint. You don't have to be here long. Really, really gentle. They're a very delicate, awesome, necessary joint. We want to be gentle with them. So I hope this has helped. Give me comments, ask me questions, and if you are in the Kansas City area on July 8th, come to my workshop at Lifetime in Lenexa from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock on July 8th.